a Hanadori, a Cordior Hunde, agus Muncher na Hacha, agus Mon Gomoror, Muncher Nose Griv, agus Cantor na Hacklima. But while I'm fortunate, a Horov in you, we can Okod Comora, and Kiel Cogadounda, and Dara Cogadounda, and Egypt Caraccar. But while I'm fortunate, especially to Horrev, Michael Feeney, Eric Sweeney, and John Moran on Peace Park I gust on the Wari at Tarnakish and Stat High Station in Bohor Chipala and Baila. Honey Grave Arshnash to Hampshire on Chachsol Shaw at a Wodov and in Carhum Mehev Najok Carachar. Vian Rave Arshnash Shin Lornach Suntora a Vier Dara Cogadounda. To go Operation Overlord Dida landings agus vi an achtar seo can den 83 milite is mó is there an dawan. An plan a bhí an ná suas le 200 míle saidori a landál i Normandy I Tuiscard na Franca. Bhí breis agus 2 míle long nó 2 míle cawlach 1 míle echelon míleta Tankina agus Saiduri a landál an Normandy. Bhí Eisenhower I Ganis on Operation Overlord agus bhí an túfás planál I gceist. Bhí si de planál on Operation Overlord fa 8 mí. Chor Eisenhower go leor béim an Hampshire. Bhí Soos le 200 meteorologist ag gobar an tógra seo chun in Hampshire éisú agus tuairisciú a chur ag Captain James Stagg I Sasna. Thucaí an luch planála an cinál Hampshire a bhí a tastal wathú chun éireocht leis. Stagg and his meteorologist colleagues planned that they needed certain weather conditions for this to be a successful mission. They needed a full moon. A full moon would provide illumination for the aircraft pilots and have the highest tides. The tides were of vital importance. Planners wanted the landings to happen between high and low tides on an incoming tide. This would improve visibility of mines and obstacles on the beaches. It would also minimize the items that the troops were exposed to in the open. The time of day was vital. It was decided to begin the assault 1 hour before dawn. These conditions occur only twice a month, so Eisenhower chose the 5th of June as an ideal date to begin Operation Overlord. However, a weather report sent from Blacksod Lighthouse by Ted Sweeney warned of impending bad weather, and it was decided to postpone the operation, to postpone the invasion. However, a subsequent report was sent from Blacksod by Ted Sweeney that predicted a weather window which would allow for suitable conditions for the landing to go ahead. So Operation Overlord proceeded 24 hours late, and it had proceeded on the 6th of June. What would the consequences if the landing had taken place on the original date, the 5th of June? The high winds and rough seas would have made it impossible for launching landing craft. Low cloud would prevent Allied aircraft from finding their targets. Troops wading into the shore would have been drowned in trying to carry their heavy equipment. Each soldier had to carry approximately 70 pounds in weight. The ships and personnel sitting out at sea would have been sitting ducks for the Luftwaffe. A delay of the invasion from early June would have also proved to be disastrous, as the next suitable period was from the 19th to the 22nd of June. As it happened, there was very bad weather on those days, and they were glad to have gone ahead. The Germans also had their own meteorologists. They had predicted that weather would have been unsuitable and anticipated for the anticipated Allied invasion. Based on this information, their Commander-in-Chief, Field Marshal Rommel, returned to Berlin for his wife's birthday, while most of other commanding officers had travelled to Rennes to partake in war games. Maureen Sweeney later recalled having received many phone calls from Dublin to verify the weather reports from Blacksod. She thought that she may have made an error, not realising that these weather reports played an important part in world history. The leader of the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin, who seldom praised the West, said when referring to Operation Overlord that it was the best organised undertaking in history, and also remarked that Eisenhower had far more accurate weather information than Hitler. That weather information came from Maureen and Ted Sweeney from Blacksod Lighthouse, and we as a community are very proud of the efforts that they made on behalf of the Irish people in predicting the proper weather conditions for Operation Overlord to continue. Good morning. I would now ask Gerald Sweeney to come to the podium to explain Maureen and Ted's role in the weather forecasting. Gerald Sweeney.
Very good, John. Thank you, John. I'm going to deviate like a famous politician who's in Ireland at the moment from the speech for a wee while. Those lads that went onto the beaches in Normandy, they went for us. They were the people that made sure that when we were voting 3 weeks ago, there was 12 names on a ballot paper. And I know people were giving out about 12 names on a ballot paper, but if the Germans succeeded, there'd be only one ballot paper and one name on it. So we have them people to thank. And while we're here in Blacksod, I want to thank Muncher Inishgee and 4 men in particular that put their lives on the line that day. That was Tom Lavelle, his brother Philip Lavelle, Michael Cawley and Tom Cawley. We owe them a big bullabus. Because the weather in Blacksod, as you all know, it's easy to see it and see which ways it's going, but by God, to go out and fight on the beaches, shin scale or fad. Now that's the politics over. The weather forecast, they done it every hour on the hour. They go out and take readings. They take readings with instruments, with the barometer, or the glass as we call it here locally. They'd take the temperature and rainfall. There'd be a container there, so all that would be measured out, put into a forum. And a lot of the other stuff then was visual. Wind direction, well, you'd look at the wind direction, you know it, you'd give it, write that in the sheet. Cloud cover, you know how many parts of the sky was covered with cloud, you'd also write that down. So that's what they did every hour on the hour, and passed it on to Methairden in Dublin, and then it was sent from Dublin to England. Now, people think that only happened during World War II. It didn't. That went back way before World War II, and that information was shared with other European countries. It was shared with Germany too before the war, but once they started acting out of hand, they didn't get the weather from Blacksod or anywhere else. Thank God for that. But that's basically it. My grandmother was also there, helped them out with the weather, and I had an Auntie Frances who used to live next door to us here before she died. She was there too on them days doing the weather. So that's Blacksod's part in Hitler's downfall. And we're proud of it. We're proud of it. Well, I'll hand you back to Mr. Gallagher. No, when I was referring to the lads that fought and died in the beaches, you know his party, what party he supports, and my party, a different party. But at least we'll sit down and talk about it and have the crack. I won't try and force my beliefs down on him, or he won't do it likewise to me. Is that right, John?
He's still only one here.
No, right, Jerry Kyle.
He's still only one here with the ballot paper.
Thank you.
Good night, Jerry. Now I'd like to call to talk a little bit about the Peace Park in Castlebar. As you know, the Ring Road in Castlebar, just opposite the Harlequin Hotel, there's a fantastic Peace Park there. Beautiful bit of granite wall with all the names that were lost in the wars erected. And the man responsible for getting all that work done is a man called Michael Feeney, and I've never met him before, 5 minutes ago, but I congratulate him and his officers and helpers for the fantastic work that's done there. It's beautiful to walk by and see it, and I've visited it several times myself just to get a feeling for it. So I'd ask Michael Feeney to speak just now, please.
Galia. In the interest of balance, I speak in English. This is a very special event here in Balmullet. Just as the event we had this morning in Castlebar, very special, because today, the 6th of June 2019, 75 years ago, was D-Day. And what was D-Day? The outcome of the Second World War depended on D-Day. It was, by no means was it a given thing that they would succeed, for all the reasons of weather that were explained earlier, and for many more. The whole of Europe, and it's hard to believe, it's only 75 years ago, there were people in the Peace Park this morning who actually served in the war. They're in their 90s, who actually served in the war, so it's in a lifetime. The whole of Europe was invaded, and it was being brutalized. Millions and millions of people that were handicapped, old, infirm, Jews, were being slaughtered, hung, shot, and burned alive. It was scandalous what was happening. That's the brutality that was happening 75 years ago. We're very happy that we're playing a small role in remembering the people who served and died. Today in Castlebar we had a lot of young students from different primary schools present, and it was lovely, and I'm delighted to see so many young people here today because the future is with them. In 1943, the US President Franklin D. Roosevelt and the British Prime Minister, this is 43, 1 year before, they agreed to have an invasion of Europe. And they agreed that because they had to take pressure off the Russian front, the Eastern Front, where the Russians were fighting gallantly and magnificently. And they were a big part of D-Day, because they were losing millions of people every week in the fight against Nazi Germany. So they decided 1 year before, it took a year to plan. It was a serious effort on their part. And the Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces in Western Europe, Dwight D. Eisenhower, he said to the troops before they embarked, before they went off, your task will not be an easy one. The enemy is well trained, he is well equipped, he is battle hardened. He will fight with savagery. And he was proved correct, because so many people lost their lives. As was said earlier, they call it Operation Overlord. But on the morning of the 6th of June 1944, more than 156,000 men landed on the beaches of Normandy. They were American, they were British, and they were Canadian. But when you say that, you have to think there was thousands and thousands of Irishmen serving in all those ranks. thousands and thousands of Irishmen were among them. They're never mentioned. Never were they mentioned. History doesn't record them. A lot of them were from County Mayo. I have a lot of names of them. They attacked the beaches over a 50-mile stretch. The Americans took one section, a couple of sections, the Canadians and the British. The combined forces of the American, British and Canadian, they were transported by 6,939 ships and landing craft. That's a huge amount, a flotilla. It covered the sea. The Germans didn't know what was hitting them when they finally seen all this coming at them. 6,939 ships and landing vessels. 2,395 aircraft flew over with troops and with bombs and strafing the Germans. 867 gliders with men, packed with men to fight on the trenches, flew in. They fought bravely and they took very heavy casualties. Indeed, the Germans took them as well. Over 22,442 men were dead before it was over. That's a staggering amount of people. And they gave their lives for the freedom of Europe, for our freedom as well. The liberation of Europe, it succeeded. And as I said before, it was in the balance. It was never a given thing. If Germany held out and kept them out, God knows what we'd be doing here in this country today, because Hitler had no love for the Irish. For that reason, it's right and proper that events like this taking place here for the Sweeney family, who played such a significant role, and it was a significant role, because that was called off, that D-Day was called off on the 5th because of the reports from here. And it was postponed and took place on the 6th, again because of what happened here and the reports they got from here. So it's in history, it's history. Most of the Mayo soldiers who fought and died, they've passed away. We had a few of them, survivors, with us this morning. But it's important that we would always remember the people who served and died for the liberation of Europe. And we as Irish people, we should never bend the knee to Europeans, because Irish people went in their thousands and thousands in World War I and World War II. Volunteers, a big word, different word. All the others were conscripted, they had to fight. The Irishman, whether he was in Canada, America or Britain, he did not have to fight, he could come home. But they did not come home, they fought. And they fought for the freedom of Europe and, to boot, the freedom of Ireland. I'm going to finish by reciting a poem that I think might be relevant. It's called Remember Them. Remember them. In known and unknown graves they rest. The young, the old, the bravest and the best. They too loved what life could give, and yet they died that we might live. Twice in 500 years, their price was paid in blood and tears. Let not memory's lamp burn low, as generations come and go. Sing out their glorious requiem. Remember them, remember them. Thank you.